All right, so welcome everybody to Blab with Bacon, and my special guest today is Chris Miles, and he's out in Utah. And Chris, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a Virgo. You know, I love to go hiking.
And you like warm days and walks in the park, right?
That's right. So Chris Miles, I'm actually a cash flow expert, and I'm the financial advocate for the entrepreneur. So what I do is I help entrepreneurs and their spouses find and free up money, be able to find extra cash, be able to make more money in their business, keep it. Basically everything about creating cash flow today rather than hoping and praying that someday you might have some sort of financial freedom. So it's always about how to create more cash today.
Gotcha.
So,
Well, let's start out with the basics. I mean, I always say that somebody who's not making a profit in their business is running a very expensive hobby. How often do you see something like that?
quite a bit, yeah. I mean, most people I have will have a profit of some sort that I work with. Because if they're not profitable, they're probably, like you said, they're probably just more of a hobby. And I tend to deal with people that are making money, but they're not sure where it's all going, right? So they might be making money, but they don't really feel any more free. And I think that's why a lot of people got into business. Like they wanted freedom, they want to control their destiny and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of them end up not feeling that way. They're like, man, I just own a job, and that kind of sucks,
Right.
And so that's a big thing that we try to address is how to help with that. Yeah, and I do help people a little bit that are at a place they're trying to get things going and trying to get things moving. But yeah, if they're not making a profit, I mean, they can't make a difference. I mean, that's the thing. Is like you can make a little bit of a difference, but not nearly the great impact you could make in the world. And I think all of us are blessed and have an ability to help other people and be able to bless lives and make people's lives better. And I think that's really what entrepreneurs do, is that we're here to solve problems and answer prayers, essentially. And when people aren't, in that mode because they're so worried about trying to make money, they're just not as effective. They come across desperate. They go to the networking meetings and people say, "Oh, that person reeks of business breath," like that kind of thing, and they just want to stay away from them, right? So my whole goal is to try to get people to stand in a place of power, to be able to say, "Hey, I don't need this business, but I know I can help serve somebody." I think that's where people really stand powerfully.
Yeah. So what are some of the signs that you would say where people finally get to the point where they say, you know what, I need to talk to Chris. I need to kind of get my house in order. What are some of the things that they see, and how do they get a hold of you? Or how do they start with you?
Yeah, a lot of them usually will say things like, "Okay, Chris, I'm making more money this year, but I don't feel like I'm making any more. Like, I guess I'm not keeping it. I don't know how to manage it." Because a lot of business owners focus so much on making money, which is very important. I encourage that too, and I teach that as well. But many of them don't know how to keep it. Right. So the more money they make, the more they spend. So they get like, oh, well, I'll make more money and they'll spend more money in my business. But instead of helping that to make more money, they're spending more money and their business doesn't grow as fast. And that has to change. We've got to get to look like this, where it just keeps growing, you keep getting profit and you spend money too. So so a lot of times people say, "I'm making more money, but where's it all going?" Or they'll say things like, "Man, and I've been making decent money in my business, but now I've got money just sitting around. I'm not even sure what to do with it. This financial advisor guy's telling me to go throw it in some crappy mutual fund," which is true, it's crappy, and all that kind of stuff. And like, what do we do? Like, that kind of stuff. And I'll give you an example. I had a lady in Florida where just recently she's like, "Okay, Chris, I know I need to manage my money better, and I'm not even sure what's happening, and I'm not paying myself nearly enough. In fact, my employees get paid more than I do." And so just last week we actually looked at our stuff, and just from the one call we did, we're like, holy crap! By March, maybe April at the latest, we could probably free up about $6,800 a month, plus about another $10,000 a year in taxes and everything else. We're probably going to free up for her this year at least $100,000.
Wow!
And she only makes a little over $200,000 in her business. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So those are people like I love, or like a guy I met with last week that we sat down and he was actually here in Utah and talking to him, and he was saying like, yeah, I've got money sitting around, but I've got this financial advisor trying to put it in the markets and do this and this, and I'm like, oh man, like get that crap out of there. Like you are a business owner, like you should make way better return there than with some crappy financial advisor. He's like, yeah, but I want to make some money on the side. I'm like, well, cool. Why don't we do things like with real estate investing or things that are in your business? We can make more money there than gambling at some stock market you can't control. And so I told him, like, man, with $600,000, you could easily be making the $5,000 monthly he needs for his semi-retirement he's in right now. I'm like, that's easy. Like, man, give me something hard. Like, those are people that are like, but they're like, really? I'm like, yes. Like, man, that guy is making you work way too freaking hard. Like, it shouldn't be that way. And that's what I love about it. It's like, man, when I find those kind of people, I'm like, oh, you are my dream come true. Like, you're golden. Like, I don't even have to work that hard, in my opinion. Maybe to you, it looks like I do, but for me, it's like a cakewalk. Compared to people that are like brand new, they're like, I can't make anything. I'm on welfare. Like, that's a little tougher, you know?
Right. Yeah. If you got no money, you got nothing to work with. So what are some of the most common things that you see, mistakes that people are making in their business where you find those little, ways for them to be able to save enough money to be able to do what they're looking to do? Give us some examples.
Well, one is not tracking their money. That's a big one. I teach that there's 3 paradigms when it comes to money. One is being a spender. We all know what spenders do. They spend, but they don't just spend, but they blow it, right? Like, it's easy come, easy go. There's also a scarcity mentality, which is a saver mentality. These are the people that are in all the media. These are the people who are giving you advice right now. Every financial advisor, every media that's out there telling you to save everything, pay off all your debt, all that kind of junk that really has not let anybody be more financially free even today. So obviously that's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Right.
That's kind of what's happening. So the middle one I go for, the one that's actually in abundance, is a steward. Because stewards take the best of the spender and the saver and they put it into one person. Stewards are willing to use money. In fact, they spend more money than spenders do. But they spend it in a way to where it increases their business, increases the return, or whatever it might be that they're trying to do. Also, they're willing to be like a saver, where they're at least willing to think about it. They're willing to be wise. So not just blowing through money like crazy. They're trying to figure out, how can I increase, amplify, multiply, beautify, make everything better in order to help more people, because dollars follow value. And so as stewards, you got to see what's coming in and what's going out. And that's why you got to start tracking your money, not just looking what's coming in. That's what spenders do, but they ignore what's going out. And then savers, they only want to look what's going out. They nickel and dime everything, but they don't care about the money coming in. They forget about making more money. You got to do both. Make more money and control, make sure the expenses are the right type of expenses that help you in your life.
So give some examples of what a steward does, because I understand both ends of that spectrum. I also understand the steward side, but give some examples of things that people can do right away that can impact their business.
The big thing is understanding that there's a couple key principles here. One, money is meant to be used. So if you're coming from a saver mentality, this is really hard to do, because you've been taught to not use money. You've been taught to give money to everybody else for them to use, like banks and things like that, right? But we're telling you, no, it's okay to use money. In fact, it's really okay to spend money. So if you come from that paradigm, it's very important. You also have to understand that dollars follow value. So the more value, if you want to create more money in your life, stop asking, how do I make more money? That has never worked for generations. It will continue not to work. You got to ask, how can I create more value for more people? Because the real source of money is people, right? The value that we're able to offer, and then people say, I want that value. Can I pay you for it? Can I exchange you something to get that value in my life? The whole goal is, how do I give value? And this changed for me in 2006, because I was a financial advisor for 4 years up to that point. And I realized pretty quickly, when I looked at the evidence, people weren't becoming financially free listening to financial advisors. So, but I started listening to my millionaire friends, and they would teach the exact opposite of what I taught as a financial advisor. So I said, well, maybe I should be doing it differently too. And so I actually quit being a financial advisor, started doing what they did. And then by July of 2006, I was able to retire even with $2,000 in my checking account. Wow. And the whole thing I was focusing on the whole time, the question I kept asking is, how do I create that win-win? How do I create value so that money is that value that comes back in exchange? And when I started to shift it, when I realized that money was a receipt of service, when money was just simply like evidence of value creation, that's when it all shifted for me. It wasn't about luck or, well, if I want to make more money, I have to screw people. So therefore, if I'm a good person, I'll just take less of a cut and I'll let everybody else keep more money, right? The whole finite pie thing. Total crap. It doesn't work, because the reality is, and this is the third principle, is that exchange creates wealth. The faster money exchanges people's hands, the more wealthy everybody becomes. But when we're in scarcity, like the Great Depression, nobody wanted to exchange money, right? They're all like, oh, I got to hold on to it. Well, when you hold on to money, who gets paid?
Nobody.
And if they don't get paid, you also don't get paid. So it's like this perpetual toilet bowl, right? But if you do it the opposite, like in the 90s, the 90s, that had nothing to do with the stock markets or anything like that. It was all about the internet. The internet allows us to exchange money freely and quickly, even while we were sleeping. It was the first time we could make money while we slept without getting those whole 1-800 lines, like,
Right.
call now, all that kind of stuff. Like, we didn't have to
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. You can pay on Visa, MasterCard, or COD, right? Like, there's not even COD anymore. Like, we just say, no, give us the freaking payment, we'll ship it.
Right.
Like, that's the cool thing, is that it's changed, right? Like, it's allowed us to exchange faster, and that's why everybody's becoming more wealthy. We didn't have to print more money like the government says you have to. Nothing to do with that. It's all about how quickly can we exchange money, and then the faster it goes, the faster everybody gets paid and makes more money at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So, what you said is like spot on. One of the things I believe, a friend of mine held up a dollar bill once, and he says, okay, this is not money. He said, it's a certificate of appreciation. The more that people appreciate the service or the product that you provide, the more of these they'll give you. And, that really changed my mindset too. It's like, wow, you really do have to have a perceived value. And I always talk about the value proposition. What is your value proposition? How do you make lives better for people? And then how do you get those people that have made your or used your products or services to tell their friends so that they can become your advocates? And then, so talk a little bit about that. Talk about the the fact of reciprocation. How does that work in your world?
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying before. Like, a lot of times when people go to networking events, right? And I'm sure, Brian, like, where are you, Brian? Like, what's
close to Chicago? It's Aurora, Illinois. Wayne's World, party on, excellent, woo, woo, woo.
Awesome. So I'm sure even where you are, like, there's networking groups, chamber of commerces, things like that, right?
Yep.
It's always interesting because you go around a lot of business owners and you can sense the desperation, right?
Right.
You can sense that they're really one-sided. They just want you to ask about them, but they don't really have a sincere interest in you. And I think that's what's missing in business, that so many people forget that it is about an exchange, right? It's about us trying to figure out how we can serve and solve problems. I love listening to how people will talk about how where they'll say, hey, here's a problem I'm having now. Like right now, what I'm experiencing last year is that people are like, Chris, like, oh, man, if I only had money, then you could show me how to make more money or how to free up money. I'm like, you realize that's retarded. Like, I know, it's so stupid. And then even when they do make money, they still don't feel like they have any money. And so, like, even adding another event called Monetize Your Divine Genius. Because a lot of people say, well, what if you don't have money? I'm like, well, I have tons of experiences with that. Like, I was in a hole about $1 million in debt with short $16,000 a month at one point.
Wow.
I had to figure out how to do that without any savings or no credit. And so I had to figure out how to monetize my own divine genius. Like, what is it you have that people want? What is it you do really, really well? What are your unique combinations of strengths and your passions? See, when you bring even just those two elements alone together, you become unique in a way that nobody else on this planet can compete with you. Now, if they're in their genius, you can't compete with them either, so stop trying, right? It's not about competition. Like, I'll tell you, like, one of the people I'm doing that event with, she's actually my competition, quote unquote. She's in the money business, right? She's teaching people how to make money. She deals more with new entrepreneurs, where I deal with people that have been a little bit more established for a few years. But still, like, we would be considered competition, but we're like, no, like, you got your own genius that I don't even want to touch. I've got mine because I'm freaking awesome. You can't touch me. Can't touch it.
Break it down.
Break it down. Hey, you did Wayne's World. I got to do Hammer. We just got to flashback to the 80s and 90s, right?
It's all good, man. I don't want to see the balloon pants, though. You got to stand up and show us that.
That's right. I got my workout pants on beneath this nice shirt. So
I'm with you, too, man. I'm wearing bacon shorts, so it's all good.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you didn't stand up.
Nah, not yet. I only stand up if it gets really boring. I don't think we're going to have that problem today. So
Not today. Nope.
So you've sparked my interest. I mean, you were $1 million in debt, $18,000 or $16,000 a month behind. I mean, dude, how did you dig yourself out of that hole, or what did you figure out? What can you give us a little bit of the secret sauce without, giving away the Big Mac?
Yeah. After I had to cry in the corner a little while and, almost got that place of learned helplessness, as they call it in psychology. It's the danged if you do, danged if you don't kind of thing, right?
Right.
A lot of times, like, if you're in a place where you feel like no matter what you choose, you're in your point, it sucks, right?
Right.
You feel like you're just gonna pee all yourself in a corner, right? Just like, I'm just gonna wet myself and just cry, and to put it lightly. And so what I had to do is I had to shift everything that was going on in my life, and it took me a good, I would say, year and a half to at least get back to breaking even. right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is 2008. So this is actually after I became a millionaire in 2006 and 2007. And then I came out of retirement to start teaching what I was doing in 2007. But I cut off a lot of my income streams, my cash flow streams, and things like that to do this, to live that higher mission. Well, all of a sudden, the whole Great Recession happened. I had some real estate, $750,000 property that all of a sudden became cut in half within a year, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, crap. And I thought, well, I'll just weather the storm because everybody I was coaching at that time were real estate investors, right?
Oh, boy.
So when they couldn't pay me, I wasn't getting paid anywhere, right?
Right.
And it really sucked. I'm like, I went from millionaire to upside down millionaire in a matter of a couple of years.
Wow.
And so I spent a year and a half trying to just keep myself from giving up. The next 3 or 3.5 years, I paid off over $900,000 of debt. And so the way I was able to do that is I had to learn a few key lessons. One is that a lot of the coolest things you could do are free, right? You can always go and serve. And so I had to do things that changed my state to get myself in a more positive state.
Mm-hmm.
I saw how to work, of course, but I had to do other things like first thing in the morning to get myself on the right foot. So, if it snowed, I would go shovel neighbors' driveways, right? If they say, hey, they're going to go move, hey, I'll help you pack up or move or whatever, pack the truck. I'll be a good pack mule because I got a body. It doesn't cost me any money to use my body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except for maybe a little ibuprofen afterwards.
Yeah.
Things like that. But I would also do workouts in the morning. So I do a morning ritual, kind of like what Tony Robbins calls the hour of power.
Mm-hmm.
I would do something kind of like that where I would get up, I'd work out, and I'll tell you, some mornings I woke up feeling completely hopeless. But if I can at least get my body going and feeling good, then at least I can get my mind changed too. And so I would read good books. I would listen to good books. I would pray. I would meditate. I would read scriptures. I would do all those things. I would, read whether books format, type of book format or audio books. I would listen on my drive to my office, whatever it was. And if you can imagine, it was kind of crazy for me to be in the rat race again when I was the guy teaching people how to get out of the rat race. That was our whole thing, is teach you how to get out of the rat race, because that's what I did. I was able to retire when I was 28, and then all of a sudden I found myself back in the rat race trying to teach people how to do the same thing. And I had to get congruent with that message. I had to tell people, you know what, the rat race, it can be elusive,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were asking at that time, the Great Recession, they're like, Chris, I would love to hire you, but I can't find any money. I'm like, oh man, I've been having to battle my way back out of this and then get into my right state and do that. I'm like, I can show you where to find the money. And so I would show them. They're like, oh, that's so cool. And so I went from trying to get people out of the rat race with investments and whatnot to all of a sudden how about your cash flow right now? What do you have to work with? Mm-hmm. Let's figure that out. Even if you feel like you have nothing, what can we do to make something from nothing? And sometimes it requires how to make money out of seemingly thin air from the income side, because that's limitless. But also, how do we get the expenses to be controlled? Because we all have expenses. But how do we do it without feeling like we have to live on rice and beans? Because it drives me nuts when there's people out there telling you to live on rice and beans and get angry and just be a cheap son of a gun and live your life like a pauper. And then even when you do all that stuff and you pay off all your debt, then you're still a broke son of a gun. You're still you're still being a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, good, I got back to zero, yay! And then they never feel free. And then they come to me after that saying, well, I paid off all this debt, but so what? I'm like, man, I would have told you not to pay off all this debt. If we would have done this, this, and this, not only would you have had your debt paid off, but you would have been more financially free too. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole mindset shift that has to happen. So no, I just recommend if you're in a place where you feel like you're struggling, where you feel like you are in a place, maybe not 16,000 in the hole each month like I was, but if you are, at least start somewhere where you do that hour of power, that morning ritual, whatever it might look like. Mm-hmm. Work out, control your body, your mind, and your spirit. You focus on those 3 things in the morning and then go to work. You'll do way better than waking up at 5 a.m., running off to work, trying to throw in some coffee or whatever you might do, and then hoping that you might be awake by 2 p.m., right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't work. Dude, you got to start off the right way. Sharpen that saw right off the beginning and then get out and work. You'll find yourself way more effective. People will respond to you differently because when you don't show up desperate, you show up standing in power and saying, I can serve you, I can help you. Watch what will happen. People will say, yes, I can see it. Here's the money.
Right.
But if you show up gee, I really need the money. Please, do something with me. I'll discount my services. I'll do whatever it takes. People are like, dude, I don't know, but you reek. I don't know why, but something about you just wigs me out, turns me off. And those are the people that end up not doing business with you. And so you work harder in that situation, but you make less money. Right. So if you want to work less and make more money, get yourself into a place of abundance. Get to that steward perspective. Get to that place where you say, I'm here to serve. I'm here to solve problems. I can do it. I rock. I'm the guy. Or the woman, if you're a woman. whatever you are, like, you're the person to solve that problem. You're the person to help them right now.
Yeah, see, my dog says I'm the dog. I mean, he's got that attitude, so believe me, I get it. Hey, while we're got a short little break here, I just want to say hi to everybody that's shown up. Make sure you give some props to Chris. Give him some high fives and stuff like that. Click on that button. Also, make sure you tweet this out. Tell little bird in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. Thanks, guys. And if anybody wants to jump in and ask Chris a question, you go ahead and take the open seat. Chris has got some great insights about how to run your business a little bit more financially sound without going broke or nuts. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think the thing that you're talking about is incredibly important. And it basically what you're talking about is integrity. And one of the things that I focus in business is whatever I'm going to do for my clients, I do for myself first. So I can learn how to do it. I'm in the internet marketing space. So, I learn how to find better ways to use Google, better use social media, any of those kind of things. And then I test it on myself. A lot of people will test on clients, and see, I don't know how to do this yet, but somebody will pay me to learn how, and that happens all the time. But I think it's better if you come from a place of integrity and quality and understanding. You're going to be much better positioned to serve people with that kind of mindset. What do you think?
I think that's awesome. Yeah, like that. It's all about mindset, man. It really is.
Yeah. So, when people don't know how to manage their own money, what are some of the things? Like, I'm a QuickBooks junkie. I mean, I love going into QuickBooks. I have everything laid out on the income side, everything laid out on the expense side. I check it once a week, which may seem a little anal, but that's what I like to do. And I'm also very into watching what's happening trend-wise in the business, because I could see an example I gave is when I started this business 15 years ago, my business was built on business card CDs, the little CDs that were about that big, had the hole in the middle and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden one day, my CD duplicator, which was like a $3,000 duplicator, broke and it stopped. And I went, oh, damn, now I got to go replace it. And at the time, they were like $1,500 to $2,000. I went in and looked at my QuickBooks, and all of a sudden I saw that last year I made $100 on CD duplication. So why would I go purchase a CD duplicator when I only made $100 last year, right? So that's the kind of stuff that I like to look at. With small businesses, do you see a lot of people that run their own QuickBooks, or do they, hand that off to an accountant or a bookkeeper? Or what are some of the mistakes in that area you see people making?
It depends. So I personally manage my own books, but that's just me, because I kind of like that as well. What I teach people to do, whether you farm that out to a bookkeeper or not, the thing is you still have to be a steward. You still have to watch what's going on. Because some people I get, like, they'll just turn over everything and then they never look at it again, which you can't do as a business owner. You can't do that as a CEO. A CEO has to know what's going on in their company. They have to know what's going on, even if it's just a summary of what's going on. So I teach people, like, if you're going to do it yourself, yeah, QuickBooks is great for business. Use that. I mean, it's definitely an accountant's dream come true. There's no doubt. Like, it's definitely not the most exciting thing to use. But if you do like what you're doing, Brian, I love what you said, like doing it once per week. That's exactly what I recommend people do, is once per week, go through your QuickBooks, update the numbers, because it's so much easier when you do it once per week than once a year.
I know.
This tax time, you waste how many days? 3+ days trying to go through all your books and everything else, not making money in your business when you could be making money. When you could just be spending a few minutes a week going over that stuff, like you're saying, look at the trends, see what's going on. I do that for business. I recommend that. I also recommend for your personal life using a tool like mint.com. I use Mint personally. 1, because it's free. 2, because it's easy to use. And 3, because I love seeing everything download to one place. I actually think it's easier using QuickBooks. Even though they're owned by the same company, I wish QuickBooks would become as easy, user-friendly as Mint is. But I love mint.com because, man, you can use it on your phone or on the online. I'm an online kind of guy, not a phone kind of guy. But you can, seriously, I've timed myself. From logging in to logging out, I updated my numbers, looked at trends and everything. It was 4 minutes, 17 seconds for a week's worth of updating.
Right.
And seeing where I was. 4 minutes a week. Man, I wish I could have rock hard abs for 4 minutes a week.
You can if you watch the right infomercial.
I guess, man, if it was out there, if it really existed, yeah, but the thing is this, like, man, if you could become financially fit for 4 minutes a week, or if you include QuickBooks with it too, because you do not want to use Mint for business. You want to use QuickBooks or something like that. You do those two things, even if it's 15 minutes a week. 15 minutes, that's it. I mean, that's not much of your life versus days at the end of the year. And you're like, man, what the heck was that thing I spent money on? I don't even remember. And you're going through all this time wasting trying to remember stuff. And then you end up saying, well, screw it. I'm just going to go send it to the accountant, and hopefully, I'll just let that go. So you lose like thousands of dollars of tax write-offs because you can't remember what it was, right?
Right.
And like you said, because you're like, well, wait, why print more CDs? If you could be more proactive and say, ooh, I got to change this right now in my business, not later, not after the fact. You're like, oh, I should fix this month. If you see, even when it's tracked once a month, it's already too late. You've already lost the month. It's now next month. So you got to do it at least twice a month, if not every week. Starting to update things and make tweaks in your business. Say, this is not productive. I'm not making money doing this. Let's switch it out. Let's do this instead. If you're using Yellow Pages to advertise your business, man, get out of that. Because every time I've found a client that has Yellow Pages ads, and I had one guy, he spent $10,000 over the last 8 years. I said, well, how many patients? He was a chiropractor. I'm like, how many patients have you gotten from that?
I don't know.
2? Like 2? That sucks. That's horrible. Like, man, get rid of that. Like,
Right.
how are they finding you? Oh, referrals online through web searches. I'm like, exactly. Get rid of the freaking Yellow Pages. Like do that stuff. And so that's the thing. Like you always be proactive. And so I love what you say there. And that's a big one that people miss. And if you could just get to the point where you say, I'm going to look at my numbers. I want to see what's going on. I want to know how much money I'm making, not just what I'm spending, but what I'm making too. Man, that's so much fun because now you get to watch the progression. You get to watch the growth, especially over time. That's my favorite thing is look back a year ago and say, where was I a year ago? You're like, oh, even though I felt like maybe this year wasn't great, still I was better than a year ago. That's progress. I like that.
Yeah, that's huge. And one of the things that I do with the QuickBooks is I actually set an appointment in my calendar every single week, and I do it Saturday morning at 9 a.m. That's just the time. And so it's in my calendar. It beeps me and says, go check your QuickBooks, work through your stuff, balance your checkbook, balance all your credit cards, whatever it is that you've got to do, make sure that the bills are out, look at past dues that people owe you and send them reminders, whatever it is, so that you've got a set system that you're doing it consistently. The other thing that you mentioned too was, and I had it and I just lost it. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know exactly what it was. When you're talking about Yellow Pages and things like that. Similarly, I mean, I'm not in the money game. I'm in trying to save money on internet marketing. And what I see a lot of people doing is that it's what I call the gym membership is, somebody, they get an SEO guy who comes in and says, okay, I'm going to fix you and to get you number one on Google. Number one, they never do anything anyways each month. But they're still paying them $300, $500. I've seen as high as $1,800 a month for that.
Wow.
And they're not looking at their own numbers. They're not looking at their, you're looking at your QuickBooks. I'm getting them to look at Google Analytics and saying, what the heck is happening with the money that you're spending? Are you seeing an ROI? What's the cost of acquisition? And that's exactly what you said with the Cairo dude. He was paying $5,000 a customer. That's bad business,
Horrible.
So if you're not measuring what's happening online, it's the same as not measuring what's happening inside your business financially. And both of those things, I mean, that's where, understanding your business, understanding measurement, if you don't know what your cost of acquisition per customer is, I think that's something you really need to figure out and start looking at those kind of details. And if you can't figure out, then get somebody like Chris to come into your business and help you figure it out. Because that's huge. It's really important. If it's costing you, a lot of people have no idea that they spend, $1,500 to make 1,000, and then all of a sudden they can't figure out why their business is hurting so bad, right?
Yep. No, I tell you, like you see it all the time, and it's really about awareness. Like it's that law of attention. Whatever you put your attention towards will expand and grow, but whatever you ignore will atrophy and decay. Right? It's like your teeth. If you pay attention to your teeth, you actually take care of them. You're going to keep them. If you don't, you're going to lose them. Same thing with money. It's the same thing. And so it's funny because many business owners don't want to look at it. They're afraid of seeing the truth.
Right.
But that truth is what sets you free, right? It's that kind of thing. And so many people get caught up in that, like, well, I just don't want to be on a budget. Well, I tell them, like, hey, budget's step 2. If you're not tracking your money, you can't even create a budget. You don't even know what you're spending. How do you create a budget when you don't know what you're spending? And so no, we just want to look at what's going on. And I'll tell you, I had one dentist in Virginia do that. The biggest savings I've ever seen in a year from one of my clients was $300,000.
Wow.
And what we did is, I did some creative things on this personal at home where we freed up about $6,000 a month, which was awesome, right? But then he went to his practice. He decided to look at that even before we got to look at it. He's like, I'm just going to look at my expenses and stuff and see what's going on. He's like, hey, Chris, I just took the same things you taught me for at home and I applied it to my practice, and I found an extra $16,000 a month.
Wow.
And I think just like the same things, like I didn't realize I was spending money on this or every single month or this, and so I cut this, and you know what? I got to let this person go because this person's not even working in my office. I'm just keeping them around for charity. I don't know why. And like you just like finally just looked at everything. He's like, man, I've got about $16,000 a month I can free up right now. I mean, you can imagine, like even if the guy's making like over $1 million a year, $300,000 is a nice raise.
Well, yeah,
regardless, right?
Yeah, that's almost a third raise.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, and that's the thing I love to do is when people can actually almost, in a sense, get a raise because we're just monitoring it. Like we're just trying to be good stewards of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Just being aware. If you ever say you're too busy to track your money, I can guarantee as an entrepreneur, you're losing at least $500 a month.
Right.
Every time someone said it to me, I'm like, I'm just so busy. I just got to keep working. There it is. You know, I had another lady in California, Silicon Valley. She was in IT type stuff. Her and her husband making $250,000 a year, but they were going in debt. When we actually looked at everything, we're like, crap, like you're spending $5,600 a month eating out. Just eating out was $5,600 a month.
Wow.
I'm like, are you eating lobster for breakfast? What are you doing? And she had that nervous chuckle like, kinda. I'm like, okay, well, let's cut back eating out. And that's not including groceries, right? That's just eating out. I was like, let's cut that back to only $1,000 a month, right? Because I don't want people to jump from the hot tub into a cold pool right away. It's like, let's just try it on. Let's just see what happens. And so we did. And then she eventually cut it down a little bit more. And then she did cut down her groceries. She kicked out her daughter's boyfriend, who was the one buying all the groceries and spending over $1,000 a month for 4 people.
Wow.
Things like that. We're like, and they weren't eating holistically too. That's the key, right? They weren't eating that. It was just, he was just buying stuff because he wanted to be a chef, you know, but apparently his cooking sucked. So they like, okay, kick him out. And they almost had too much fun. I'm like, oh, hold down. You know, hold on. Like, don't take away health insurance from your kids. They still need health insurance, right? Like, don't be cheap. Like, they went overboard, overly fanatical. But they still found over $70,000 that year, and that's cool. I love that.
That's awesome. So if anybody wants to jump on the hot seat, there's an open seat. If you have a question for Chris or myself, go ahead and jump in. We'd love to have you ask questions. And don't forget to tweet up in the corner. And as I said at the very, very beginning of the show, this show does have a sponsor, and it is Bacon Podcast. If you haven't checked it out, go to www.baconpodcast.com and also check out my other site, baconcoach.com. So make sure you guys check those two out. And Chris, why don't you tell people where they can find you too in the middle, and we'll do it again at the end.
Yeah, so you can check me out a few different ways. You can check me out. No, I'm just kidding. That always sounds weird when I say it. Yeah, so you can go check us out at moneyripples.com. That's MONEYRIPPLES.com. You can check it out there. I actually have a free ebook. It's free right now. I'm actually going to be charging pretty quick. So if you want to get it now, it's called Beyond Rice and Beans: 7 Secrets to Free Up Cash Today. So it's basically how my average client's freed up $33,000 a year.
Love it.
And you can also check out Facebook, facebook.com/moneyripples. Or if you like iTunes, you like podcasts, I've got the Chris Miles Money Show as well.
Awesome. So how often do you do your podcast?
Once per week, so every Tuesday.
So is it a monocast or you interview guests?
Occasionally interview guests. Yeah, it's about 2/3 monocast, 1/3 guests.
Gotcha. Cool. So and what's that on iTunes again?
It's the Chris Miles Money Show.
Got it. Awesome. Okay, so check that out, people. And so going down the pike of trying to save money, how do you help people figure out how to make more? I mean, I understand that's kind of one of the things that you have to be able to do is, yes, you have to cut expenses, but how do you help them figure out how to maximize their skill set, their time in a stewardship way so that they can make more money?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things because that's the thing that is limitless. Like, you can only cut back expenses so far and then you're living in a cardboard box, right?
Right.
So we don't want to do that. We want to actually increase income. And I think that's kind of ignored. The big thing is I go back to principles because it's always principles first, strategy second. See, everybody's always trying to teach these little tricks and strategies and stuff, and I've talked about some as well. But if you don't understand the true principles behind it, it's a lot of times you fall flat on your face trying to make those strategies work. So one of the principles is, like I said, dollars follow the value you create for other people. It's always coming back to how do you create value? And also how do you communicate that value too? Because you could create a lot of value for people. And you asked this question earlier about getting people to rave about you, right? Well, like you've got to create a reputation. You've got to be focusing on, really creating value for them, but also creating I don't want to say a craze, but creating a reputation that you're always there to serve. You're always there to show up to help other people. And when you do that, people start talking behind your back. Whether you like it or not, people are always talking. Maybe not as much as you think they are, but they are talking. I've started to realize lately that people talk about me more than I realize now. At first, I thought people would always talk about me behind my back, but most people don't care because they're too narcissistic about their own lives, right? But now I realize in business, at least in the business circles, people do chat a lot. This can be good or bad. Hopefully it's good because you want to create a good reputation, because one bad reputation that spreads can prevent money you'll never ever see in your business, right?
Right.
So you got to really focus on, how do I create a great reputation? How do I show up powerfully? How do I show up to serve and add value in people's lives? So I think that's key. So I look there first, but I also look at like where people are leaving money on the table. So for example, I see this with people that are very good-hearted, good-natured. The one thing they tend to do is undercharge, right? Especially when I get people that are healers, right? Or they're people that are, in the industry to feel like they only did what they did because they want to serve. So like chiropractors, I've worked with over 300 chiropractors before. And with those chiropractors, it's very common for them to say, well, I got in the business because I wanted to help people. But the problem is that they don't get taught how to be a business owner. Right. So they show up as a doctor, but they don't understand how to run a business. And for example, there's psychological price barriers. So like, for example, at $1 is a price barrier. So if you charge 70 cents, the thing is people will also pay 99 cents or $1 and not bat an eye. So if you charge 70 cents, you're losing 30 cents per unit, right? Same thing with them. A lot of them might be charging $30 or $35 for a patient visit. I'll say, well, you realize that 25 is a barrier, but so is 50. Why don't you just push it up towards 50? And I was like, at least try 40. Like, go up $5. Just try that. Especially if they're like, oh, I don't know if I can. What if I lose patients? Try it. Watch what will happen. So they go up incrementally. They go up to 40, and they'll come back and say, nobody even batted an eye. One person said, oh, it's about time. I'm like, yes, I told you. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, please charge more money while I'm paying you. Like, they're going to say, no, I'm going to keep paying you, because the thing is, you accept money because you believe whatever you're doing, whatever you offer is worth less than money you accept. But they pay you because they believe it's worth at least more than whatever you're charging. And so the one thing your services, your products are not worth is the price you charge. And so the point is, how do I make sure I can keep raising prices? How can I make sure to add more value? Even if you said, I already increased my prices. Well, great. How can you add more value? How can you create more money? How can you create more speed of money where they pay you more often? How do you get them in more often? What can you do that way? I'll tell you, like last year, I mentioned monetize your divine genius earlier in this. Well, the reason I did that is because on one of the Facebook groups I'm a part of, people kept saying, man, I would love to know how to make money with my passions, or how to make money with my gifts, my talents, but I don't know how to do it. I'm like, oh, that's easy. I'm like, how many guys would like to learn how to do that and then know what your purpose is, that you could tie it all around and have a big why behind what you do in your business? And there's like 30 plus odd likes. It's like over 10% of the people that were even members of that group were like, whoa, yes, I want that. I'm like, so 2 days later, I said, guess what? Today for only 20 seats, I'm going to create a webinar starting next week called Find Your Divine Genius. Now, go ahead and take these seats. And then so 20 people filled the seats within a day. I said, cool, I just made like $1,000. I turned them $50 per seat, and I was going to record it because I was going to take that recording and go make that production. And it's like, now I sell it for $297 online. So now I'm making multiple money all over again. And again, it's all doing stuff, and they all raved about it. I got testimonials from it because that was part of the deal. And now I'm using those testimonials for Monetize Your Divine Genius, which is a live event. I'm doing that now, and now I'm just building on that. And that's the fun part, is that when you're always focusing on how to keep adding value and what do people really want and how can I serve them, and if I can't serve them, can I find somebody else? Ooh, key tip here. The way I was able to retire in 2006, it was basically just using this same thing I'm teaching. What I was really good at was I was good at connecting people. I was good at seeing the big picture, but I quit being a financial advisor. But people kept coming to me saying, well, how are you making money? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, let me tell you a few things I've been learning that's blown my mind. And I teach them some key things about, how debt's not debt, and, things like that, and how you can actually start creating passive streams of income. And they're like, this is awesome. Well, how do I do this? Well, you might want to refinance your mortgage. Okay, who do I go to? Well, I don't want to do them anymore. Because I was like, that's what one of my friends asked me. He's like, if money were no issue, what would you do? He's like, would you keep doing mortgages? I'm like, not really. I'm like, I like teaching it, but I don't like having to do all the paperwork. He's like, well, find somebody else, some nerdy guy to do the paperwork for you. I said, that's brilliant. And then I did. And I just split it 50-50 because I had a mortgage license. I almost got rid of it, funny enough. I was about to really cancel it. He's like, no, send the business on. So I'd send it to the guy. I'm like, would you pay me 50% if I basically spoon-fed you people, clients? Yes, of course. Awesome. So I'd teach people for a half hour or so. Great. Go talk to this guy. Next thing I know, I get this $1,000 or $1,500 check coming in for my half hour's worth of work. I'm like, this is cool. Who else could I do this with? I did it with all kinds of people, even like jewelry companies. I'm like, hey, here's a wholesale jeweler I recommend because cheaper than them all. Go to them. They'll save money. And they had a 5% kickback, for a referral fee. So I started getting paid from referral fees, but $4,000 to $5,000 a month, only working like 3 or 4 hours a week. So, when Tim Ferriss talks about a 4-hour work week, I was doing it just because I was a good connector. I was like, here's somebody with integrity, go talk to them. My friends would come back happy and raving. They're like, this is awesome. They tell their friends, you got to talk to Chris. And that's how it all built up. I'm like, I was doing that all for free at that time. Now I actually just, charge a consulting fee to help do that. And I still connect people that same way because I don't have to be the expert at everything, And that's the thing is like, what can you do if Phil needs? And if you can't do it, can you connect him with someone who does? And that's what I'm always looking for is, okay, how can I help you? How can I serve you? And you want to go out to lunch with business owners, same thing. What are you looking for? What's going on in your life right now? And I try to find at least one thing I can do, either information to give them or a connection I can give them that will help them in some way. And that's how you build friends first, and those people become raving fans.
Absolutely. Well put, man. And, another example of what you were talking about is I had one customer that I was working with a year ago, and I was charging X. And it was a decent price. I mean, I'm not going to get into rates online, but so I was charging X. And since then, I've raised my rates because I have a different service model. Now I'm doing more, education, consulting, coaching, whatever it is, in online marketing. And I have a completely different model. So I went to them and said, hey, I'm more than happy to fix your problem. Here's the cost. And it was like 2.5 times what they paid last time. They said, all that to fix this one thing? And I said, well, yeah, that's what it costs now. And if you want, I'll cut, you're a good customer, I'll cut it in half and do it in a half hour for you. And, it's still going to be more than what you paid for a full hour last time, but this is the way it is. And one of my favorite stories online is, and it's an old joke kind of sort of, but the guy goes into Henry Ford's plant and the boiler wasn't working. And so the guy walks in and he basically looks over at the boiler, finds one little bolt, he twists the bolt, and all of a sudden the boiler started working, and he hands Henry Ford a bill for $1,000. He says, you charged me $1,000 to twist that one bolt? He says, no, I charged you $1,000 to know which bolt to twist. And, you've heard it so many different times, so that's the way it is. And we got somebody trying to jump in, so if you can jump on board, you got a question for Chris, please go ahead and do so. We got 2 open seats, and we got about 10 minutes. I'm going to have to cut this at about 5-2 because I've got another coaching client. I've actually got work to do after this, so I got to prep for that. So
me too.
Yeah, I hear you, bud. So this has been great so far. So if you can make it, try again. If you can't, go ahead and exit out and try one more time because sometimes Blab is a little glitchy. I learned, with I use Minicam, which puts up the lower third and the other stuff. So if I want to pop up Blab with bacon, I can do this and all this other fun kind of stuff and then switch back and forth. But I learned with this that the only way I could make this work was by using Firefox. I couldn't get it to work on Chrome. I couldn't get it to work on Safari, and Firefox was the only thing that was working for me. So actually, in order to do Blabs, I had to switch my platform, which is just weird. But that's technology. This is beta software and stuff like that. So yeah. So are you have a Blab show now too? Are you doing Blabs?
I'm just doing random Blabs kind of like this. Like with the person that's my competition, as I mentioned, we did a few Blabs over the last couple of weeks, just talking about topics like, like money rituals, which ones work and which ones are just retarded, things like that, or or talking about like why passion doesn't mean you make money. Right. You can't just be passionate about something. There's got to be that missing piece, right? So yeah, and we've had lots of fun things. So I've actually just started to use Blab within the last month. It's been very recent. Yeah,
it's very cool. I've tried Blab and Periscope and a whole bunch of other things. And again, I sat in the back like you did. I went to a handful of Blabs that my friends were doing or people that I know from conferences and just jumped on just to see what people were doing, learn the technology. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to start this show and just do it on a regular basis. And now I've got, by the way, if anybody wants to be a guest, just email, and I'm putting this in here. It's k@b2b-im.com. She is taking requests for guests, and that's, I did the first one myself, but my virtual assistant is now handling this for me. She used to book another radio show that I did that ended last year. So it's nice having somebody who just books it, and I just show up and it's like, okay, this is who I'm talking to this morning.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So this is great. Well, it's good to connect up. Do you have any last things that you want to say? We got about maybe 5 minutes or so to kind of finish up. But sorry, the one person who tried to get in, I'm sorry you couldn't get in, but you can try again. Oh, one other thing too, people, if you're watching this live, there is a website. It's blabwithbacon.com, and this replay will be up there as an episode as early as late today. So if you get a chance and you want to come back and listen to what Chris had to say, if you missed the beginning, come back and listen to the whole thing. It'll be there. So go ahead.
Well, I would say, like, yeah, if anybody has questions, if they can't get on the open seat for whatever reason, you could also do that /Q too and type in a question for us as well.
Yep.
So, I think last thing I just want to focus on here is that, you got to understand that, like, money is emotional, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about this morning as I was out for my run. Is when a lot of people like I'll tell people all the time, like when it comes to debt, like one of the ways I help people free up money is restructuring debt and doing things like that. Hopefully, if they don't have to pay any dollars out of pocket, even cooler, right?
Right.
And so I try to do that, but I'm not focused on like the interest rates or anything else. I focus purely on cash flow. If I'm going to pay off a loan, I want to pay off the one that's going to have the highest payment with the lowest balance, not just the lowest balance. And definitely not just the highest interest rate, because that's what banks use to get you to do stuff and pay off the ones they want you to pay off, not the other way around.
Right.
If you're a business owner, you know that income can look like this. The key is you want to have expenses like this, because if you're like this and expenses are here, you don't freak out. You stand more powerfully when you talk to people, and more people become your clients or customers. But if your expenses are up here, especially when people are like gung-ho about paying off debt, and they're like this, it's great here, but when you go down here, you're in panic mode, you freak out, and then people are like, I don't know, I don't feel right about that person. They just seem, I don't know, something's just not right about them. They seem desperate for my money.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't do business with you, and you're wondering why you work so hard to try to get back up here again. If you can get it down here, it's huge. So I'll give you an example. I had a client in Minnesota. He actually was 62 years old. He was in business for the last 30 years. But the problem was over the previous 3 years, he was in this downward spiral. So it's kind of going down, down, down. Mm-hmm. So now he was like paycheck to paycheck. And he was hating it. He was losing passion for his business. He's like, I don't know what to do anymore. And I'm getting older. How am I ever going to retire? Blah, 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 right? And so I started looking at all of his financials and his situation in general. I said, well, like I'm looking at your situation, and I can see here that you've got $500,000 sitting in an IRA from the other years when it wasn't so bad. So what are you doing with this IRA? Well, I'm saving for retirement. Okay, well, that's awesome. Why don't we create retirement today?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, why don't we, instead, like, let's take this 500,000. We actually do this. We can restructure some of your loans, refinance your mortgage, which would make it another 30-year mortgage, which when you're 62 and you're saying, oh, I'm going to make a 30-year mortgage, like, what? You're going to make it go till I'm 92? Like, yes, absolutely. And here's why. We're going to do that, and we're going to actually pay off some of these other loans. We're going to take $100,000 of your 401k and use that to pay off some of these loans. You will free up guaranteed $50,000 a year, $4,200 a month.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, but Chris, how am I going to retire? I said, $100,000 to make $50,000 a year. Yeah, but I can't retire.
Right.
50% rate of return. Is your financial advisor giving you that? No, you're probably lucky to get 5% if you work with a financial advisor.
Right.
He's like, I don't get it. And finally his wife just said, hey, listen, because women always get this faster. They have more common sense than men do a lot of times, because the more men have been indoctrinated into finances, the worse they do with money, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, she's like, you still have $400,000 sitting in your IRA. Why don't you just, you're okay. We're still okay. Let's do what Chris is recommending. So he did. He's like, okay, I'm nervous. And he did it. Guaranteed $4,200 a month. He frees up. That's, $50,000 a year. Here's what happened. Here's the cool part. And this is the importance why cash flow is so important. He goes back to his office now. He now doesn't need $4,200 a month coming home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens? All of a sudden he's like, oh, I don't need the money. This is the key. If you can get to a place where you feel like you realize logically, I don't need the money, right? Because even if you have somebody coming to you, you never just need the money. You can always go get a job. You can do something else, right?
Absolutely.
And so when he got to that place, and now when he was sitting down with potential new customers and stuff, they said, hey, cool. Well, you don't need the money. Here, you want to use my services or not? Well, they actually started to become, like, they actually started saying yes. So his conversion ratios went up. he started making more money. So on top of the $50,000 a year, he made an extra $20,000 just early on that year because of the increased income he was making from people saying yes. So now they're all coming in. They're like, oh, cool. And so he had more patients coming in. He had more people saying yes. And all of a sudden, the passion came back in his business. And I think that's the thing, is that ultimately, like, we're here to live a passionate life. We want to do what we love. And it's even cooler when money can follow that too. And so when you control cash flow, when you get to a place where the cash flow is under control, you have money coming in, and you know you're working because you love it, not just because you need a paycheck, that's when real freedom happens. That's when you don't have to be retired. You're like, I will do this regardless of the money. Like, this is what I love to do. This is the whole reason why Chris Miles, came out of retirement, because I'm like, I love this. I love teaching people, and I have a gift. I have something to share with the world, to leave this fingerprint on the planet that nobody else can. I have a duty. I have a purpose. I have something greater that I need to share. And when you can do that and show up powerfully, then it's amazing the people that are attracted to you. Then, like, money doesn't seem mysterious. Money flows in easily. Money ends up becoming a thing that's very calculated, very formulaic, and something that you can actually count on. And that's what I love. That's why I love what I do.
Awesome stuff, man. Hey, this has been a blast. Some great advice. You've really kind of laid out some good basic principles, I think, that anybody could use. So let me say it one more time, guys. If you missed most of the interview, I'm going to have it up on blabwithbacon.com later today, so you'll be able to go and watch the entire thing. Chris, make sure you send your peeps to that if you want them to rewatch it. It's blabwithbacon.com. And thank you. Thanks for doing that. And Chris, one last time, why don't you tell people if they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, great way to do that. Like I said, my website's moneyripples.com. That's MONEYRIPPLES.com. Or if you're a Facebook user, you can follow me, facebook.com/moneyripples.
Awesome, Chris. Man, it was a pleasure meeting you virtually online. Hope to meet you face-to-face soon, man. And I got to get you on my podcast, too. We can talk some money there, too.
Same here, Brian. I love it.
All right, dude. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And to everybody else, go check out the recording. Some great stuff if you came in late. So thanks again, Chris. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.